Okay, so I am going to start lesson 55 now, and we're talking about common denominators. And just to remind you, the denominator is the bottom part of a fraction, and the numerator is the top, in case you've forgotten. So denominator is the bottom, D is a prefix meaning under, so think about that if you're into language tricks in order to help you remember vocabulary. Okay, so common denominators. Let's look at these two fractions, 3/5 and 2/5. Okay, whenever I see anything like that, it just makes me happy. That's my happy face because they have common denominators. 5 is their common denominator, so life is good. We can add and subtract those and very easily without having to make any changes. Okay, if we were to add 3/5 and 2/5, we would have 5/5, which equals 1 whole. If we did 3/5 minus 2/5, we would have 1/5. And again, it's pretty simple. All you do is add and subtract the top numbers and keep the bottom, right? So we've done that a lot already. Now we're going to be looking at 3/4 and 1/2. Okay, when I see that, I know, well, I used to feel this way, but now I actually like it. So I'm not so sad anymore, but you probably are, because this is newer and fractions aren't usually people's favorite thing to do. So when you first see two different bottoms or two different denominators, 4 and 2, we see that they are not common, and that can cause unhappiness, okay? So we're going to hopefully make this less painful by I wrote denominators, by showing you how to switch them and give them common denominators pretty quickly and easily and painlessly, and so that this can be this, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and start with some examples. The book only gave us, the book only gives us one example for this whole lesson, so I better make it good. Maybe I'll do a couple of the practices for you or with you, and you're going to do them on your paper, but I will have done it with you to show you how to do it. Now, okay, so the first example says subtract 1/2 minus 1/6. Now they have it written this way. I recommend for a while to do it vertically because it gives you space to make your changes. So if I were to do this on my own homework, I would rather write it this way, vertically. Okay, now again, you might see this and go, not common denominators. They're different. We have a 2 and a 6. Okay, so that means we have to do some renaming. And I know we've already practiced this year, so it shouldn't be super new to rename these fractions. We want to give them a common denominator. So what I always ask myself is, self, what is the smallest number I can think of that both 6 and 2 multiply into, or the lowest common multiple or least common denominator. Those are all terms on how to figure out what to rename this as. Now this was a nice one that they gave us because they happen to give us a denominator of 6, which is also our least common denominator because 2 thankfully goes into 6. So what that means is this guy gets to stay the way he is, but 1/2 needs to become something with a 6 on the bottom, okay? You guys have all done this before, where we've, just in the last couple lessons, where you can figure out what goes on top. 2, and in your head, you're probably going, okay, I know 2 times 3 is 6, so 1 times 3 is 3, okay? So 1/2 has now been renamed to 3/6, and now we can do 3/6 minus 1/6. Now, you could, if you want, bring this over here so it's nice and pretty vertically. I always like things to be neat and tidy. So again, when you're adding and subtracting fractions, you never change the bottom, okay? I did make my kids walk around the house one time saying, I will never ever add or subtract the denominator, okay? Because they always stay the same. Now we do 3 minus 1 is 2. Okay, almost done. I just noticed that these are even numbers, and then 2 goes into 6, so we can reduce that to 2 divided by 2 is 1, 6 divided by 2 is 3, and your final answer is 1/3. Okay, so that's the only example in the book for lesson 55, so I'm going to do like 2 of the practice problems, and I'm looking at your practice problems right now, and I notice that they've all done this for us where one of the fractions includes the least common denominator. So they're starting us out. That's probably why it's called part 1. They started us out pretty easy by doing like 1, and they even set it up vertically. So this is letter A. 1/2 plus 3/8. Okay, and we are adding. So again, 2 goes into 8, so they've already done half the work for us. I'm just going to move 3/8 over there. And so 2 also goes into 8. 2 goes into 8 4 times. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 plus 3 is 7/8. And you don't even need to reduce because it's done. Anytime the top is 1 less than the bottom, you know you're set. You don't need to do any more reducing. So that's always nice. Okay, so then letter B. Should I do B? Yeah, I'll go ahead and do B. We've got 3/8 and we've got 1/4. Okay, and we're going to add those. And again, 4 goes into 8. They were nice, so 3/8. I just move them over because I just like things to be nice and vertical and lined up. Okay, 4 times 2 is 8, so 1 times 2 is 2. We are adding, so 3 plus 2 is 5. 5/8. Okay, and we can't reduce that. All right, so that is lesson 55 in a nutshell, and not much, there's nothing else that's new in there. So I'm going to turn this off, and we're going to start lesson 56, which is called Common Denominators, part 2. All right.